Hello, my friends. Thank you so much for joining and especially pressing play on this episode today as we talk about healing on the hard days this holiday. I'm so proud of you because you know I love to give us chipper, enthusiastic episodes, and I hope this one will land there eventually for you. But before that, I know we also just need to be real. And we've done a few of these over the holidays over the last few years. But today we need this again, especially as I see our Spotify wrapped and see that, yay, we're being streamed in over 74 countries, but that a large percentage of listeners are new. So you may not even know about the whole E&M vault from the past 400 plus episodes. And therefore, it's time again to talk about the harder days. And instead of just the fun, fancy Norman Rockwell sorts of Christmases we depict on our Instagram feeds, allowing for some realness, even as much as we might say, and I especially say, we have our hard days, these are our highlights. It's still more relevant, I think, on podcasts to dig a little deeper where we can and to say, what do I do? Okay, I get it that these are your highlights and maybe these are your mom wallet pictures sort of thing that we do nowadays instead of actually those mom wallets with all the crumbs from the purse, right? Or dad. But honestly, I think that what we do now here on podcasts, like I said, is it's that deeper dive that we need to say, okay, when strife hits, when illness hits, when grief hits, when loss of any kind hits, and everyone else is bouncing around and happy or seems to be, what can I do to get through my stuff? And first of all, I just want to say you're not alone. I'm going to give you three tips I think will really help you. But I think the first foundation we just need to lay is that one that, of course, people are just sharing highlights on social media and they have things going on too. I know my collective was just talking to me about that this past week when I was sharing some real things, and they go, "Oh my gosh, it's so nice to hear real things in your life, Krista, because we're getting a chance to dialogue back and forth and they're asking more questions than I would normally share." And so it's fun to be able to dive deep. And so it was a reminder for me to dive a little deeper here with you. And all next season, we're going to be doing deep dives in 2025. So get ready for that too. But for today, I want to give you these three steps for how you can walk through hard times this holiday. And the first one is just to reflect on what's bothering you. Sometimes you're running around so fast and you have just a vague impression of what's going on. I hear this from moms all the time who are Voxering me or Marco Poloing me. I had lots of those in both spaces of those apps this week. And also some calls and texts. And I think that what I'm getting at from those, honestly, people are a little bit more raw in those spaces than some of the in person, quicker times I've had at church and parent drop offs and kid productions and such. Um, is just the rawness is there, but sometimes there's just this lack of time, it feels like, to really even process and to dig deep. So I just want to start there to let you know whether you're working or busy in some other capacity, take time for you to reflect on what it is that's really eating away at you. Because oftentimes, when we do find that clarity of, oh my gosh, this is what's bothering me, I haven't been able to get any time for myself, and I haven't been able to digest my anger, or I haven't been able to work through this issue that was really making me sad or worried. That's huge just to stop and pause there and to let yourself take a few moments to think or meditate on what's bothering you or to journal it out. That is very important because if you are striving after healing, but you don't even know what's wrong, you're never going to get there. So I encourage you to reflect on that. And that's something I do with my clients regularly. And when we talk about what's different, what's changed from the past weeks, sometimes that's just their moment to say, hold on, let me even stop long enough to consider. So I encourage you to do that too. Just reflect on what has happened. I would say that in my world lately, I've had Wes and I had a bout of sickness. Then I was reflecting on my mom and just stories from history and tragedies. And these things made me take that pause and say, oh gosh, I'm sure some of you had that this year with political things and just maybe personal things like me or something else in your life that's unique, like a pregnancy loss that's hitting extra hard, or a divorce, or a family member's divorce, something hard that just hit you. And I just want to allow you some time to reflect on that and to allow yourself to do the next part as well, which is giving yourself that chance to heal, to say, okay, so I've reflected and ouch, that really hurts. What would bring healing for you in this moment? That also may be something you need to do some reflecting on. But oftentimes, what I notice is that instead of it being a 1-to-1 ratio, like I feel hurt and sad, it's often that we need to do a few things, find a few things in our toolbox to help repair, if you will, the piece of us that we were reflecting on and hurt. So you may say, well, wait a second, I reflected on the fact that I was hurt and then I went to the gym and worked out. That's not all the healing you'll probably need to do. Maybe that's one part of it, but maybe you also need to allow in some sadness or to allow yourself to heal through memory and through legacy and through just honoring that person. So I think that it's important for you to look at that relationship, whatever that meant to you. It might be like, I'm mourning a friend that we're no longer close. I'm mourning a parent. I'm mourning an ex, a pet, something different, something like our house, we lost it this year. Maybe you were a hurricane victim. There's so many pieces of life that you can reflect on and heal from, but you have to allow yourself several ways and spaces to do that. And some of that is going to come through community and finding safe community, because frankly, some people cannot do that healing with you. They haven't done it for themselves, or it's not the right moment. Maybe they have done healing, good work even, but right now they're also in a crisis or they're sick. And so they aren't going to be your go to. So you have to keep finding ways to heal. And I think that if we could do a 2A, which why not, then we would add to this healing section grit, because grit is part of healing. It's saying, okay, I tried something and A didn't work, so I'm going to try B, or B partially worked. Let's add C. And it's also knowing that even while we're reflecting and healing, life is still happening to us. I was just laughing about that with a client and simultaneously groaning about that today when we were saying, they were saying, if we could just get everything done at home. And I'm laughing like, yeah, but, it keeps piling up. So to really ever just get this purity of healing perfectly without any kinds of life interruptions is absolute fallacy. So know that we're all in that together too. And that's where grit comes in, is like, I'm still going to heal. Even if I had to get knocked down. There was a time when Wes and I weren't feeling good. And it was so interesting because we had to go get our kids from something and it was late at night. And then Hannah locked her keys in her car. And so I had to go again. And it was really kind of my fault anyway. And so I was like, it is what it is. This just requires grit. Like nobody's actively sick anymore, but it was like, we just needed to put on, like during the healing, even some grit. And if you're a mom out there nursing a little one or a dad who's weary in every kind of way, I'm sure all of you guys have your beautiful joys and wearinesses right now. And some of you are like, I'm not a parent, but I'm still weary. Absolutely get that. I think that we just need to realize that part of our healing journey needs to continue on even after life hits us again. Floridians were hit with 2 hurricanes. And I also saw a friend post in the Carolinas, somebody who had their trash out front and they had it decorated with Christmas lights, guys. And I had to stop and say, is that really what I'm seeing? And maybe you're in the Carolinas and you're like, yeah, that's what you were seeing. But I did go back and pause on it. And I did see that people had really they were patient enough to say, you know what, we're doing our best to heal. But in the meantime, we have some grit going here and we're going to decorate our trash heaps in front of our house from the hurricane while we wait for the people to come get it, because there's just so much debris and we're thankful for what we have. And that is part of it all, is the gratitude that becomes part of your healing. So we've talked about 2 elements. You're reflecting to really just give yourself some space to notice what's hard this holiday. And then also really a time of healing that involves some grit, where you keep trying different practices to see what works. And the last piece I want to help you with is the legacy piece. And it could be the advocacy piece for you as well. But this is honoring the journey you've had with memory. And that might mean that you've walked through a difficult journey of an illness and now you're going to testify about that to others so they can get help. It may mean that you're honoring a special person in your life and you're going to help other people to remember that person's beautiful glow. It might be, I remember reading about Harville Hendrix, who wrote a book about marriage, and this was years back, but it was a book that wasn't a fit for me, but it was a book a lot of people found to be a fit. And he was coming off of a divorce when he wrote this marriage book that helped so many other marriages. And it was the way he brought his legacy was he actually said, I did it wrong. I want to help people to learn together with me how to do it right. And so it doesn't have to be that you come into this space of legacy as a perfect person. I think that's sometimes what stops us is we're like, oh, well, I had this or that happen, or I had a divorce, but I was at fault, or or partially at fault, or I had a difficult illness, but I think some people were more heroic, or I lost somebody, but they were older, so somebody else's loss is worse. And I just think that there's such a danger in not honoring your unique legacy and journey because nobody else has your particular gift to share. So I just want to encourage you, friends, share what you know, what you've learned, and that will make a difference, even if it's only to one person and that person is you. Honoring the journey means looking and reflecting. You remember our friend Mara Eller came on the podcast to talk about writing out legacy pieces and just noticing your own story and how you've pivoted and changed and grown over the years. That is all part of the hard days of the holidays, just as much as actually feeling it and sitting in it and noticing it is pulling out what you can about your own personal growth that you learned through those seasons. I know we had a huge praise come into our lives today that Melody Jane got into her number one college. I'm so excited. Not only does she have a scholarship there, but she has a full ride to USF Honors College. And I'm so thankful and happy. It's her number one school choice. And as I already said, oh my gosh, proud mom moment. But just the grit of getting there, watching her pull through, watching us pull through on the hard homeschool days and seeing it come to life. I'm just happy. And as I gave her a huge hug, she gave me one back and she's like, this was you too. I was like, girl, like take your type 9 journey. You did this. But also like there's a celebration of joy of there were a lot of gritty moments of fighting for that child, especially like I remember her community college losing her scores that she passed this horrible test that we recollect called the PERT. I'm sorry if I just gave anyone bad memories of that test, but hopefully you haven't had to take it or hear of it. But all that to say, this was like pre ACT, SAT. It was just like a journey that we needed to honor. And I'm glad she has that legacy now. Her testimony is beautiful and strong. But if she didn't honor the stories of her life and how far she's come, whereas this week she was dancing in this gorgeous quartet. A couple of days ago, she was acting as Susan in Narnia last night on stage. And there are so many parts of her life that have found its voice, their voice, her voice. And I hope that you too can say to yourself, as much as there's been hard, as much as there's been just bleariness and bleakness, especially this time of the year and this weariness we've been talking about a little bit on the pod, here's the things that I have seen come across on the other side, or here's the legacy I want to start off. Maybe we just inspired you with that story and you're a 9 and you're like, I'm going to use my voice, even though some people may not hear me. Some people may not be able to be for me right now. That's okay. That's their story. I'm going to find support where I can. I'm going to support me. So those are the big pieces of the journey that I hope you'll join me on this season when you hit those hard days. I think I do life with a lot of highs, a lot of lows, and a little bit of the in betweens. I'm learning that. But I also really enjoy my prayer life for a grounding factor. I've been doing the Compassion Advent 25-day global journey as we just read stories on the Bible app about people all over the world. I just read about a pregnant 14-year-old in Africa who has gotten support and is raising a baby as a single mother and finding joy and work. And it was just a beautiful story of hope. And I invite you to encouraging growth in yourself by looking at other stories too, because that's been a beautiful, moving picture for me as well. That's just a bonus. It's something that you may already be doing. Most likely, you are doing some sort of growth where you're watching others, but definitely allow for the fun too. I know I was recommended a Hallmark movie, and I already started thinking about what other movies we're going to watch. I cannot wait to rewatch While You Were Sleeping. We've already done Home Alone. So bring some fun and lightness in as well, guys. Don't just be like, okay, I need to mope and lament and I need to honor. All of that is true. Grit, it's all true, but also bringing in joy. And I told you we were going to end there. Um, Gratitude, those are great spaces too. And that contrast of doing your work is what will get you there. If you never do your work, it's just blah. It's like you never felt your deep feelings enough to really dig out of them or make meaning from them. And so they're just sitting there as a meh in your heart. And instead, as we end this episode, I just invite you to bring your things to surface. And if you're a person of prayer, bring them to God and allow yourself to really face them and to say, okay, I'm reflecting. I'm going to take some steps for healing. And I'm going to share this legacy of pain that I've had in a way that will be meaningful. I'm going to honor my journey, not forget it. And that's just exactly where I want you to be. I know I will end with this beautiful little reminder I had of my mother this morning. My niece sent everybody her Christmas choir, her concert in Valparaiso, Indiana. I know some of you E&M people are out there. Shout out to all the Valpo people. And she was sharing her high school choir song of the Sleigh Bells song. And my mom loved that song so much. And we made a tape of her and my sister Abby and I, who's the type of three sisters, playing it. She was going to send it to her mother in California. And it was such a special moment to think on us singing all those carols. Also, Wes and I literally sort of fell in love. One part of our love story of falling in love was at a nursing home singing carols. And just seeing my niece do something so good and beautiful just brought such a huge smile to my face. And I said, Grammy loved that song so much. And my niece knew the exact name of the clapping thing in the song. And I'm like, okay, you're also just like grandpa, your grandpa's granddaughter, that you knew the technical word for that. And it was just fun to bring back that legacy to grandkids who didn't know my parents as well as I do. And I really want you to not be afraid to, even if you're no longer close with somebody or you've lost somebody, to integrate their beautiful stories into your life so that you can keep those memories, legacies alive. Something good happened to you and you're allowed to reflect on it. Something hard happened to you, you're allowed to heal from it. And something good is still coming from you. So I am bringing you that hope today. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And don't forget to check out our fun emails coming your way. So we will be doing our 12 days of Christmas sales, but including some fun freebies. Melody's helping me with those emails. And I hope you have such a wonderful day. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.